Welcome back to the Unraveled podcast. My name is Nina.
And my name is Alina.
And I think today we wanted to talk about branding.
Yes, but personal branding.
Exactly. So when you think of the term personal branding, what are the things that stand out to you?
So for me, I feel like it's shaping and communicating a presence that you want other people to see, basically like your personal image. I know for myself, I've worked over the years really hard on kind of developing what I want my personal branding to kind of look like and how I want to be perceived to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Rather that's how I communicate, how I dress, how I talk, how I appear to the public.
What would you say some key pillars are for your personal branding? Like if someone asked you to give 4 pillars, what would you say those are?
I would say one is probably my nails. I always have white nails. It's very rare that I do a color outside of that. If I am, I'm probably traveling or it's the summer, but usually if I do, it's like not very far off from white. It's going to be like a nude or something basic. I always go with those kind of colors. Again, that's just part of my branding. And then how I dress as well. I'll tell a story with this. It's kind of funny. Me and my brother were going to a CE class together, and I came down the stairs and he was like, "Why are you dressed like you're going to the fashion show?" And I was like, because it's a statement. How you dress is a statement. And I do want to be the best dressed person in the room. So that's what I aspire to do.
Yeah.
So that's for me is part of my personal branding is trying to be the best dressed person in the room, because I do want to I want my, not only how I speak or what I say to be a statement, but also how I dress.
Yeah.
Oh, you said 4. Okay. Yeah. So my nails, how I dress, the colors that I pick to wear. I always go with darker colors because I like those colors, but also because I like them, I've made it part of my personal branding as well. And what else? I don't know. I think that's probably it for me. Mainly those 3 things.
I mean, when I think of you, I also think of like, whether it's like your logo and how your company is advertised, it's very elegant. And I think that's something that your whole brand is as well.
Yeah, that's true. I do try to, my branding is very luxurious and elegant. So I try to dress in accordance with that. So it matches. I don't want to, in the past, I used to go to the office in like leggings and a t-shirt or whatever was comfortable for me. And then I was like, how am I going to build my brand if this is how I'm dressing? So I had to match what the clientele is that I'm trying to pick up, or the type of friendships I'm trying to have. Yeah. Like I've got to match that same energy.
Yeah. And it may be a controversial topic, but I do think it's important, especially for, I'm just going to speak to agents within our age group.
Sure.
To think about how they present themselves when it comes to meeting with clients and what you are known for. Because I do sometimes, I'll see an agent that's going on a listing appointment and I'm thinking, I'm not sure about that outfit. I don't say anything because it's none of my business. And you won't necessarily win a listing based on how you're dressed. But I do think it definitely plays a part.
It's all part of it. Agreed.
Because it's a first impression. Now, if you've worked with this client 10 times from Sunday and there's some familiarity there and you're helping them move and you show up in workout clothes, that's a bit different.
Right.
But if it's your first impressions, having a little bit of class in how you dress put together, it doesn't have to be expensive, but it just has to be, what are you trying to sell? Are you
Agreed.
Wanting to sell a $50,000 mobile home, or are you wanting to sell to a $1 million client?
Correct.
And I think you have to kind of adapt accordingly. I remember when I was at a previous brokerage, I did get some sort of feedback because I would wear same colors, same styles, and in their eyes, it might look like the same outfit. Although I have multiple of the same. And at the time, I kind of felt bad. I was like, well, but then now that I've taken a class on branding, it's actually better to have the same colors, the same outfit. Think of Steve Jobs, right? 9 times out of 10, he was, either wearing a blazer or a long sleeve black shirt. Do you think he only had one? No. But every time you saw him, it was consistent. There is this awesome realtor out of South Carolina, and her colors are hot pink. And, every time you see her.
I think I've heard of her. I know exactly. Even on her social media, like it's all pink. Yes.
And, I think it's awesome to really focus on your branding in that way. And haters will hate. But at the end of the day.
You know what you're doing. You have a goal.
Yeah. So, what do you think about when people are, maybe they don't know how to dress? How can they learn how to present themselves better? Or maybe they do know how to dress, but they just, they think it's more important to maybe look sexy instead of professional. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. The question is, who are you trying to attract? So if you're trying to attract luxury clients or a certain group of people, how are they dressing? This goes back to our other podcast, mirroring and matching. Like that's how you should be dressing.
I have a friend, they're in another state, and she won a listing, and she was competing with somebody else, another woman who showed up to the listing appointment dressed extremely provocative, without knowing that the person who was actually the decision maker was the wife.
Oh.
So even if she was the best realtor in the world, the wife was just too disturbed by the presentation that girl didn't get the listing. And is that right or fair? Should you be allowed to dress how you want? Probably. But it's just something that I have seen consistently, that if you can present yourself in a professional way, you have a higher chance of success. Unless people know you very well and they know that you're just some hidden talent, some genius, then, you can have more flexibility. But up until that point, if you're building your brand, you really have to know who you're talking to.
Agreed. I think another thing that's important too, when it comes to personal branding, don't go out of your way to dress and be something that doesn't feel authentic to you.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't about changing yourself so much as it is about self-discovery, figuring out what you like, and turning that into a brand for yourself. If you're a gothic person and you like dark colors, then stay that way. That's fine. But incorporate that and make that as part of your branding. Yeah. So I think that's very important. I don't want anyone to feel like they have to change who they are. You have to do what you like for your branding. Like I said earlier, I like dark colors. You're not going to see me in a bright yellow jacket. Bright yellow jacket may look great on you, and that is fine. But on me, you will never see me in a bright yellow jacket. And if someone does, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, Lena, you're wearing a bright color today. I get that all the time if I happen to wear a color, because people know that I'm usually in dark colors.
Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't come naturally. Sometimes, like for me, I didn't know how to decorate a room. You can put yourself in an opportunity to learn. You could take a class. You can watch videos online. Right. So if you don't know how to dress yourself or pair outfits or anything like that, that's okay. You don't know what you don't know, but then take the time to educate yourself, because knowledge is power. And even if you look back at yourself maybe 5 years ago versus how you present yourself now,
completely different.
Right? So everyone can do it. And I think it's important. And I guess I'm speaking more to women, because I see that more than, a guy maybe has it easier. They can just wear a dress shirt and pants. And
get feedback from other people too. So sometimes feedback is not even warranted by some people, but they still give it. Yeah. Like my sisters. I used to thought I dressed very nice and professional, but she was like, Alina, why are you dressing like that on going to an appointment? Shouldn't you be dressed nicer? And I was like, I thought this was nice. So thankfully I have blunt sisters. It's a gift and it's a curse at the same time.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I guess I really am not dressed nice. So I slowly started buying new pieces. It's not overnight I'm going to have a whole wardrobe full of nice clothes, but I slowly started buying pieces that worked within the brand that I was trying to create and fit the people that I was trying to attract.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a thing. If you can find someone who you love and they love you and you trust them, and then ask them for some feedback. Correct. And say, what do you think about this? And they're going to come from a good place and give you the honest answer.
Exactly.
And you might be surprised, if you're really adventurous, I know somebody went online and they basically asked the public how can I dress better? How can I look better? And they gave them detailed, description of, okay, do this, change this. And they were able to completely transform their brand for the better because they followed. But that's all, you'll probably get some haters through that.
But it's not about what other people think. It's about you trying to build your personal branding based on the type of people you want to surround yourself with.
And I think knowing who you're trying to speak to, who's your client, right? If somebody is strong working with investors, you probably don't have to worry about what you wear as much as maybe somebody who is listing and selling high-end new construction.
Right.
So it all just depends. Niching down to who you want to talk to needs to be the priority.
So I'm laughing because I've had this happen before, and I know, like, so sometimes I'll occasionally go show land, and I'm still gonna show up how I dress. Like, I'm gonna still be in my boots or my heels and my nice outfit. Girl,
to walk land.
Yes. And you in my client, but it's most of the time I'm not showing land to random people. Like, I'm showing land to clients that I've worked with before that are like building a house. So they already know me enough to know I'm not gonna come in rain boots or like they know I'm not going and walking through the 5 acres. They know I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But because they already know who I am, but they still want to work with me because of
the connection,
the relationship that we have, and I've done with business with them before. Now, am I going to take a client that wants to go look at 5 acres of farmland? Heck no, because that's not the kind of client. I'm not saying it's not the kind of client I want to attract, but that's not the kind of client that would probably even want to work with me because I'm not.
You can give that to Ralph.
Yeah, or another agent who specializes in that. Yeah. Because I'm going to still show up in boots and I'm going to dress nice because that's just not, I'm not going to show up in whatever people go show up to show farmland.
It's funny. I had a piece of land I listed last week, and an agent wanted to show it to her client, but I needed to be there to help open up part of it. No lie. She had stilettos. Her client.
The listing agent did?
No, I'm the listing agent.
Oh, the agent has stilettos. Okay.
I came out in boots because I knew it was muddy. She came out in stilettos. Her client wanted and needed to walk the land.
And she couldn't do it, yeah.
She had to go barefoot at a certain point because the heel kept getting stuck in the mud.
Oh, I know how it is. That's why I'm like, I can't, that's just not, again, I don't mind doing it. I've done it before. But again, it goes back to the fact, like, how you dress is who you're going to attract. So if you're normally out in a farm and you're doing that kind of stuff and that's normally how you dress, those are probably going to be your clientele, people that want to buy farmland. And that makes sense because those are the kind of clients you attract. If I'm seeing someone that's dressed like that and we're going to go look at farmland, I'm going to immediately be like, oh, they know their shit because of how they're dressed. Yeah. If I showed up on stilettos to go show farmland, they're going to be like, what is this city girl doing here? She doesn't know anything about farmland. And they haven't even talked to me yet. So they may not even know, but it's all about how you dress and who you're going to attract. So it could be it could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing.
Yeah. And this shouldn't be the case, but unfortunately it is. I think as younger women in the real estate industry, sometimes people assume that you either don't know what you're talking about or you've not been in the industry a long time. And if you can present yourself professionally, it does combat that mindset or thought pattern a little bit. Because if you dress young and dumb, that will only perpetuate what they're thinking.
Right.
But if you can present yourself professionally, then what can they say? Agreed. If you have the experience, then you might as well dress the part.
And even if you don't have the experience or you don't know, if you can pull some parts out of that to help make yourself look more presentable and confident in what you're doing, that immediately helps your clients feel more confident in you. Yeah. Like, because even when I was younger and starting at the age of 18, and if I'm dressing like a teenager, going to appointments, I already look like a teenager. And if I'm already dressing like one, my clients probably are like, yeah, this girl's a little too young to be doing real estate. She probably doesn't know shit. Versus if I had dressed more professionally in a blazer and something nice, and even though I'm still 18, I'm playing the part for the position.
Yeah. And so it's challenging, but it's really not that hard. If you can just ask yourself, who do I want as a client? What type of properties or, what is my business model? And then how do I want to present myself? But then I always tell people, begin with the end in mind. Because the worst thing is you start doing something and then you have to change everything totally. And sometimes you have to do that. But it would be easier if there was some consistency from the very beginning. So imagine 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where you will be in the industry and what type of clients you'll have. And then start dressing the part now.
Sure. And with dressing also goes with character development and who you really want to be as a person. I know I've talked a little bit about, striving to be very honorable, be a person of my word, and do what I say I'm going to do, what I say I'm going to do. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
And, but for you, what does that look like for you? What are some characteristics that you aspire to have or that you do have?
So I think through experience, I have built a level of self-confidence to where I do not need to get attention from somebody based off of how I dress. And in fact, that's really not preferred at all. So I probably dress on the more conservative side typically, because I don't even want my appearance to be a topic of discussion or thought.
That's funny. I'm like the complete opposite.
Well, I mean, so like if I have a female client that's like, girl, I love your dress. Oh, thank you so much. I'll tell you where I got it from. But if I'm going to an appointment, I don't want them to be thinking about like, oh, wow, she's really wearing a tight dress, or like, I want them to think more about my knowledge, my expertise, how I can help them get the most money for their home. That's just my personal, preference.
I love that.
But, that took time to know and love who I am as a person, to where I don't need validation from people. So that's one thing that I think has been beneficial. But then also, so dressing, and then the confidence to realize when something's not a good fit and not a good fit for my brand. Sometimes there's properties that I've not listed because that is not a good fit for my brand. And, I refer them to another agent, so they're taken care of, but just kind of.
That's a good one.
Streamlining. Because at first you take every listing because, you're just starting out.
You're trying to build your business.
But then now it's like, okay, I could take that listing, but how will that look for my brand? So kind of working through that, but building confidence in that too.
Sure.
So I think it's multi-layered, but the biggest thing I could just give advice to people would be spend time with yourself, learn more about yourself, develop who you are, build your own confidence. So whether, you get the listing or not, whether you dress a certain way or not, it doesn't matter because you know and like who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
That's some good advice. I'm sorry, what?
Well, you had asked me like the two main things when it comes to self-development and personal development that has helped you, kind of build like a rock solid. Because when I think of you and your brand, it's solid, right? And it's been solid. Like when I first started and you had already like been in the industry, I was like, damn, like the brand is like this OG luxury, without knowing you, you would think, oh, this company's been in real estate for like 15 years.
I appreciate it.
But
because I've strived really hard to rebrand my business, but also myself so that they coexist well together. And they're paired well. They just make sense. When people see me, they know that this is what I'm trying to attract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power, right? So know your data too. Like simple things like branding. But then if you're so clueless about what's going on, you'll be focusing on all your insecurities and lack of knowledge and, oh, do I deserve this? And just know your stuff. Just do the work, know your stuff, and
educate yourself to get there.
I mean, it's not hard to do. It does take time and it's hard work, but it's not necessarily an impossible thing. And more people just need to have a realistic expectation of what it looks like.
Correct. I totally agree. Totally agree. So I think that's really it for today's episode.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you for joining us. You can follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. We release a new episode every Wednesday. And we're also on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok and Instagram.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.